Every hero needs a villain, it's just the natural order of things. Now, if you can bend steel beams with your bare hands or leap tall buildings in a single bound, then 9 times out of 10 you'll be facing someone who's equally powered as you. But not always. What if your foe has only their smarts and a vicious streak a mile wide with which to bamboozle you? Is it even possible for a mere mortal to face someone with godlike potential and to give them a good kicking, or at least a run for their money? There's something to be said for super-powered foes, whether they're massively intimidating like Galactus or unstoppable killing machines like Doomsday, but when the main villain is just a normal individual, it's something everyone can relate to. These are the reasons that these bad guys and girls tick the boxes when it comes to breaking the law. They're conniving, manipulative, and often rather ingenious. So with that in mind, I'm Will for What Culture, back from realizing that all you really need to be a supervillain is self-confidence, to bring you the 10 best comic book villains that had no powers. Number 10, Harley Quinn. First showing up in the exceptional Batman the Animated Series episode Joker's Favor, Harleen Frances Quinzel was nothing more than a sidekick and a punching bag to Mr. J. It would take her a while to find a place for herself in the pantheon of DC villains, but when she finally did, she'd become a constant thorn in the Dark Knight's side. Her team up with her best friend and later romantic partner Poison Ivy would see them pull off a string of capers that would leave Gotham's rich and privileged with highly inflated insurance policies as the two stole anything that wasn't nailed down. This strategy would actually end up vexing the Dark Knight, as her unpredictability always meant that he was never quite able to get a grip on her actions. As the years passed, she would be transformed into more of an anti-hero, with her face plastered on merchandise and comic books left, right and centre, but there's no doubt that at her criminal peak, Harley Quinn was a hell of a villain. Number 9, Helmut Zemo. The Helmut Zemo of the Marvel Comics has access to Moonstones, which allow him to evolve his Nidorino into grant him a wide array of superhuman abilities. The Zemo of the MCU, however, managed to tear apart the Avengers in Civil War without a single superhuman trait or ability to his name. A Sokovian citizen turned terrorist after the events of Age of Ultron, Zemo frames the Winter Soldier for the assassination of King T'Chaka and leads Iron Man to discover that a brainwashed Bucky was responsible for the deaths of his parents. In doing so, he pushed the team to breaking points that culminates in a straight-up war between the Avengers themselves. Although no Avengers died as he had hoped, he still managed to destroy the team after both Loki and Ultron had failed, which is a pretty impressive feat for a guy who's basically just a dude with no training who got pissed off enough to actually try taking them all down. Number 8, Ozymandias. There's comic book geniuses, and then there's Ozzie. The villain of Watchmen, as far as it has a villain at any rate, Ozymandias is justifiably touted as the smartest man in the world, and has built both a legitimate and criminal empire by the time the comic begins. His master plan involves orchestrating an enormous catastrophe to bring the world together and back from the brink of nuclear war. And unlike the vast majority of bad guys in comics, he succeeds. His plans include giving a significant number of innocent people cancer to frame Dr. Manhattan as pretty much a walking cloud of secondhand smoke, murdering the comedian, and teleporting a genetically created telepathic monster to New York City that will kill millions, convincing the world they are under alien attack and must unite to save themselves. When your plan involves putting yourself in direct opposition to Dr. Manhattan and getting away with it, you know you're pretty damn good. Number 7, Kingpin. Initially seen as nothing more than a by-the-numbers crime lord, Wilson Fisk has grown into one of the best villains around. Bullied for his size as a child, Fisk grows up into the terror that is Kingpin and rules New York with an iron fist. His business ventures have, at times, put him at loggerheads with rival families, as well as Hydra, meaning that he always has to be one step ahead of everyone. His immense intellect is matched only by his colossal strength, strength, and he is not averse to using violence to get what he wants if all else fails. He has survived countless attempts on his life, as well as power plays for his throne, and he even managed to be voted in as mayor of the Big Apple. This is something he gleefully rubs in Daredevil's face, pointing out that the people Matt protects chose Fisk to protect them instead. Number 6, Riddler. Ever since he dropped his first riddle on Batman in Detective Comics 140, Edward Nygma has been a great addition to the Dark Knight's rogue gallery. With no discernible powers outside of his genius-sized intellect and an obsession with puzzles, he could have easily been a one-and-done character. Thankfully, however, he stuck around and went from strength to strength. Determined to prove his intellectual superiority over the Caped Crusader, he has spent the past 70-plus years coming up with one outlandish plan after another, and even though he has yet to truly best Bruce Wayne, he seems to have no intention of stopping anytime soon. Number 5, Penguin. It seems that if you're one of the wealthy elite in Gotham, you have two career paths open to you. Either dress up as a giant bat and spend your nights punching people in the face, or take to nefarious ways and be on the receiving end of said beatdowns. Oswald Cobblepot, the criminal owner of Gotham's Iceberg Lounge, has taken the latter option. A self-styled gentleman of crime, the Penguin is a smart businessman, criminal mastermind, and pretty damn handy in a fight. Starting life as an almost comedic character, Oswald has grown into the definition of a crime boss. Taking a lot of villains under his wing, his empire grows to such an extent that everybody who's anybody in the underworld turn to Cobblepot when they need anything. It seems that he will do anything for $1, including staying behind during the No Man's Land story arc, just so he can turn a profit. Number 4, TwoFace. Harvey Dent had the world at his feet. The good-looking DA was well on his way to becoming a Gotham legend, until mob boss Sal Maroni throws acid into his face, permanently scarring his left side. This drives Harvey insane, and as Two-Face, he reaps a terrible vengeance upon all those he deems as being guilty under his own interpretation of the law. But he doesn't stop there. Crime becomes a way of life for him, and the lust of new territory sees him branch out to form his own empire, one that rivals any of those already operating in Gotham. He's another one that relies on his brain as much as he does his brawn, and his ability to plan and strategize each plan to perfection is one of his greatest strengths. A one-time friend of Bruce, Two-Face is now one of the Bat's greatest nemeses. Number 3, the Red Skull. Literally Adolf Hitler's protege, the pure evil that runs through Schmidt's veins make him the perfect candidate to head up the Third Reich's terrorist and espionage squads. And from here, Captain America's greatest enemy is born, the Red Skull. The leader of Hydra survives the Second World War only to eventually die of old age, but not even death can stop him, as he is revived by Arnim Zola, and bar a few more lapses into the great beyond, he continues his quest to become the ultimate bastard for many years to come. Whereas others use criminal genius for personal and financial gain, all the Red Skull cares about is furthering his own fascist ideology. Number 2, Lex Luthor. No man in the history of comic books has ever hated a metahuman the way Lex hates Superman. His entire existence is based around proving that the big blue Boy Scout is not only his inferior, but also a huge threat to the planet. He will stop at nothing to make sure the world shares his view, even going so far as to become the President of the United States, so he can use all the power that comes with it just to ruin Clark Kent's life. Another victim of his own genius, like so many villains who don't have powers to rely on, Lex's obsession with Superman will see him throw everything he can at him in attempt after attempt to bring him down. He even goes so far as to go toe-to-toe with Superman physically on occasion, even if he needs the help of a super suit to do so. A brilliant engineer who could realistically solve most of the world's problems if he put his mind to it, he is far more interested in turning a profit than he is in helping out. But the main thing he desires is the death of Superman. Number 1. The Joker. The bane of Batman's life, no pun intended, the Joker is not just the greatest non-powered villain, but among the greatest villains of all time. He is certified insane and he stops at nothing to make sure that the Dark Knight is always at breaking point. No price is too high to pay in his quest to destroy his hated enemy, and his contempt for human life, meta or otherwise, always guarantees a high body count whenever he puts one of his ideas into motion. He kills with impunity and no one is safe when he is free from Arkham. Just ask Jason Todd. Outside of a few cameos, including being the trigger that sends Superman over the edge in Injustice, he has only ever had crazed eyes for the Bat. And in the interest of good comics, long may it continue.